Hello everyone, how are you today? I know many of you listen here while the night gets quieter, maybe while you're resting or slowly falling asleep. If you feel like it, leave a comment and tell me where you're listening from tonight. Tonight, we have 8 stories, different lives, different circumstances, and a lot of unanswered weight between them. So, get comfortable, take a slow breath, and let's begin. Story 1. The photograph exists first. A woman standing inside taped boundaries, chalk marking the floor, one shape missing its body. The date of the photograph is days after the killing. The location is the same address, July 30th, 1970. A police log notes 2 events within hours. One is a homicide at 468 East 4th Street. The other is an assault 3 blocks away. The second record names a child, Lori Kula, 10 years old. Time logged around 9:30 in the evening. A man grabbed her. She screamed. He released her and ran. Direction recorded, toward East 4th Street. No physical description survives intact. Only direction. The homicide report is completed the next day. July 31st, 11:40 in the morning. Loretta Jones, age 23. Cause stabbing. No forced entry listed. One room noted as disturbed. Blood pooling around one hand. Her daughter was not present when officers entered. 4 years old. At a neighbor's house. The report describes her as frightened. That word appears twice. Custody transfers follow. Grandparents. Temporary. Officers note concern for the child's safety. The offender is not identified. August 31st. An arrest is made. Name, Tom Eagley. Reason, an affair disclosed during interviews. He is logged as the only suspect. No forensic linkage is documented. 3 months later, release papers are signed. No charges proceed. After that, the record thins. The town does not. Community notes mention fear. Parents keeping children inside. The assault on the 10-year-old circulates with the homicide, though no formal connection is ever proven in court. The case file is stamped inactive in 1971. The photograph remains. It shows Loretta's hand position. It shows blood beneath the fingers. Nothing else is marked. She stood very still when the picture was taken. No one told her where to look. Later statements from the daughter appeared decades after the initial reports. She describes the house. Sewing. Handmade clothes. Dolls. No relevance noted at the time. Another statement references the night. A goodnight kiss. No sounds recalled. No screaming heard from the bedroom. That absence becomes fixed. The photograph is reviewed again after 40 years. The hand is discussed. The blood is discussed. No conclusion is entered into the file. The image stays where it was, waiting unchanged. No audio record exists. No report mentions a scream. That absence becomes a recurring note, written later, after memory had time to harden. The injury summary comes first. 17 stab wounds to the back. 2 to the chest. Cause of death confirmed. No defensive wounds documented. Medical examiner notation. Victim did not struggle. No explanation attached. Years later, the daughter connects this detail to silence. A child asleep in the same house. A door between them. There are no contemporaneous statements about motive. Only later reasoning. Custody records show the child moved into her grandparents' home. Interview notes stop mentioning the mother. School records show no disclosure. Family members discourage discussion. That appears once, then again, in later recollections. Grief is not logged as evidence. Silence is. 1989. The daughter turns 23. Same age as the victim at death. This coincidence is not in any police document. It appears only in her later correspondence. Letters are sent. Price City Police. Carbon County Sheriff. Federal authorities. No replies are preserved. Only copies of outgoing mail. The correspondence continues for years. No case action follows. 2009. The daughter returns to Price. Reason stated later. Unfinished matters. Family resistance is noted in personal accounts, not in official files. Let It Rest appears in one retelling, not attributed to a date. That same year, a chance contact occurs. A childhood acquaintance responds online. Name, David Brewer. Occupation, detective. They speak. She recounts the night. The account begins with a sound. A thud. She reports looking through a keyhole. An object on the floor. Assumed to be laundry. The door opens. Blood. Her mother on the floor. She exits the house. A neighbor is outside. Digging. She says only one sentence to him. That statement appears unchanged in every later version. Brewer reviews what remains of the case. He finds nothing complete. No full file. No preserved evidence. This is noted as unusual. Homicides are retained indefinitely. This one was not. What remains are fragments. Newspaper clippings. Responder statements. They describe the body position. On her side, one hand in blood. They confirm the wound count. They confirm no forced entry. From this, an inference is recorded much later. The victim may have known the attacker. Another inference follows. Silence. Still no defensive wounds. No physical evidence supports motive or identity. No suspect is named in the reopened effort. Only the question persists, restated without resolution. The effort stalls. No lab results. No preserved samples. No chain to follow. Brewer closes his notebook and says there are no photographs. That is recorded as a remark, not a conclusion. The box appears later. Stored by the grandmother. Unlabeled. Kept intact for decades. Contents mixed. Paper. One envelope. One image. The photograph is not a crime scene survey. It shows a child, standing inside the room where a body had been outlined. The stain is still visible on the floor. This is the only image tied to the scene. Another item is a newspaper clipping. A man beside a uniformed officer. Caption, Tom Eagley. He had been detained. Held 3 months. Released at preliminary hearing. No evidence sufficient to proceed. In later commentary, he is described as incidental. That description does not appear in court documents. More clippings follow. One describes an attempted abduction on the same night. Distance logged, 3 blocks. Time logged, around 9:30 in the evening. Victim Lori Kulo. Age 10. She and her brother had been riding bicycles. Brother went inside first. She followed on foot. A man approached before she reached the door. One hand over her mouth. Grip failed. She screamed. He ran. Direction noted, toward East 4th Street. Brewer flags the direction. No notation of coincidence is entered, only proximity. Contact is made with Lori years later. She agrees to speak. Before that interview occurs, another document is found. A journal. Handwritten. Maintained by the grandmother. Entries dated from the night of the homicide forward. The first entry records the child's words. A name appears. Tom. The phrasing is inconsistent. Some lines read as memory. Others as dream. Footsteps. A voice making threats. A fall. A body on the floor. One line references the keyhole. Another mentions prior violence. Slapping. Hitting. The journal does not assign dates beyond the first night. No corrections appear. Reading continues. Memory returns in fragments. One sentence stands alone. A warning spoken before bedtime. Do not come out. No follow-up is written. Brewer proceeds to the remaining witness. Lori's description is physical only. Brown hair. Light eyes. Height between 5'10" and 5'11". Neither tall nor short. As she speaks, one detail repeats. The way the man fled. A lineup record appears late in the file. The witness is 10 years old at the time of the assault. She is asked to look before being told why. She peers around a corner. One man stands separated. She becomes nauseous. She says yes. Name entered, Tom Eagley. The same name already appears in earlier paperwork. 1970. Detained. Held 3 months. Released without trial. Relationship history is minimal. One blind date. No continuation. That note comes from family memory, not police record. The child from the homicide house repeats one sentence over years. Same wording. No variation. Tom killed my mom. Brewer logs the consistency, but notes the absence of corroboration. Without physical evidence, the path narrows. A confession or biology. Nothing else qualifies. Consultations follow. Forensics. Senior investigators. One option remains. Exhumation. Permission is requested directly from the daughter. She agrees without conditions. She says to bring a shovel if it helps. June 2016. The grave is opened. Media presence is documented. Names are not officially released, but the event is visible. The daughter's reaction is described as acute distress. No clinical language used. The lab receives the samples. Time passes. Results return negative. No usable DNA. No foreign material recovered. Public statements remain cautious. Investigators mention progress without specifics. A second tactic begins. Unrecorded at first, officials imply evidence exists. They allow the implication to circulate. Then a call comes in. A woman reports her neighbor's behavior. She names him, Tom Eagley. He asks her to watch his dogs. He says police will be coming soon. Arrangements are made. Recording equipment is provided. Consent is documented. The expectation is limited cooperation. What occurs exceeds it. Admissions are made. Details align with known facts. Brewer closes the file. An arrest follows. Age at arrest, 76. In court, the sentence is read. 10 years to life. Parole eligibility calculated decades ahead. The daughter delivers a statement. It lists events missed. Ordinary milestones. No response is entered from the defendant. The case status changes from inactive to resolved. The word closure appears in public statements. It does not appear in her private notes. What appears instead is justice. Short. Unqualified. There are no records measuring gratitude, but correspondence shows repeated acknowledgement of one officer's involvement. Name, David Brewer. Role, sustained attention. Third-party remarks describe mutual reliance during later stages. Support moving in both directions. Outcome contingent on duration, not force. Uniform imagery surfaces in later interviews. Protective gear. Not metaphorical in the file. Merely recorded. The victim's name returns to the foreground. Loretta Jones. Assertions follow. That her life mattered. That it counted. The language becomes repetitive near the end. Never give up. Chance. Hope. No analysis attached. Post-sentencing documents list no future objectives. The daughter states uncertainty. One intention is repeated. Memory preservation. The photograph remains in circulation. Then another photograph enters a separate archive. Different year. Different ocean. November 16, 1961. Location, the Bahamas. The image shows a child seated on a life float. Name attached, Terry Jo Duperalt. Age 11. Recovery details are logged before interpretation. For days adrift. No food. No water. She is found by a cargo ship. Photographed. Minutes later, she collapses. No connection is noted. The files do not explain the transition. Story 2. Concert ticket stubs were later recovered from her bag. Creased. Smelled of sweat and beer. Time stamped late Sunday night. 17 years old. Kate Moyer. A VHS cassette sat already rewound in the living room. Rambo. Television on. Volume low. 2 adults she did not know. David Burney. Catherine Burney. Those names would not be relevant yet. Her wrists were held. Not tied. Hands. Pressure. A knife was introduced under her chin sometime after the opening credits. No shouting. No escalation. The film kept playing. Police would later catalog restraint marks on her arms, thighs, ankles. Fresh. Parallel. Some older. Nearly a dozen missing persons reports had been filed across Western Australia within the previous month. No connection noted at the time. The film ended. She understood that detail would matter later. The bed was metal framed. Chain fixed to the base. A padlock. Assault occurred after. Order uncertain. She began memorizing. Layout. Doors. The window. A calculation formed. Not spoken. If she did not survive, there needed to be something left behind. Names. A location. Proof. Monday, the 10th of November, 1986. A teenage girl ran along Morehouse Street. Bare feet. No shirt. Bruising across her torso and neck. Metal abrasion at the wrists. Residents would later say it was quiet that morning. She had been alone for less than a minute. That was enough. The window latch fractured outward. The fall was headfirst. Concussion confirmed later at hospital. She knocked on the first house. No answer. Second house. No answer. Third. She crossed a back fence. A black dog attacked. Bite marks documented on her leg. Down the street, a man stood smoking outside a shop. She ran until her vision narrowed. She couldn't get the words out properly. Just kept pointing back down the road. Police were called. The girl repeated one statement more than the others. They are killers. At the station, Constable Laura Hancock was assigned the intake. First week on duty. First formal statement. Kate was shaking. Then angry. Then abrupt. She said the questions were wasting time. She said there were others. She said she was supposed to die. After a while, her voice flattened. Details emerged unevenly. Some arrived out of order. Why she had not been killed yet. Why she had been left alone. Why she was still alive. Her account did not resolve cleanly. The supervising sergeant reviewed the notes. He concluded she was fabricating parts of it. He instructed Hancock to stop pursuing it. Those words were written down later. Not at the time. Across the city, David and Catherine Burney remained at their residence. The chain was still attached to the bed. By the end of the day, the names on the missing persons reports would align. The instruction was informal. Pass sideways. Treat it as a false report. Prepare a charge. Constable Hancock read the notes again. Bruising photographed. Chain abrasions measured. None of that altered the directive. Kate did not argue for herself. She redirected every question. Names. Locations. Risk. Her concern stayed external. Not what happened to me. What they're doing. She kept repeating identifiers. Who they were. Where they lived. How they spoke to each other. The emphasis never shifted. 30 days earlier, a manila folder was dropped on a desk in central Perth. Detective Paul Ferguson logged it at the top of his stack. Mary Nielsen. University student. No witnesses. No body. Within days, another file joined it. Younger. Shorter timeline. He noted the similarity and kept going. Later, instruction came down. Stop active investigation. Both girls had made contact. Letters. Phone calls. Runaway classification applied. Ferguson disagreed, but recorded compliance. A third name followed. Same week. A couple offering a ride. Service station mentioned. The vehicle did not stop. No recovery. The fourth disappearance arrived before he could revisit the first. Denise Brown. 21. Last seen leaving a friend's house in Kubler. Intended route short. Arrival never confirmed. Her mother's statement conflicted with the follow-up call attributed to Denise. Voice wrong. Timing wrong. Concern logged. Ferguson sent Superintendent Vince Caddage to canvass the area. One witness identified Denise at a bus stop. Fremantle. The location was quiet. Small station. Limited staff. Ferguson planned to attend in person. Before he left, a radio call interrupted. A young woman in custody. Details sounded familiar. She said the name before we asked. That doesn't usually happen. At Palmyra Station, Kate was waiting. Hancock still present. Ferguson asked about Denise Brown. Kate answered immediately. Catherine and David Burney. A couple. Palmyra suburbs. She explained the certainty without insisting on belief. During captivity, a newspaper lay open. A missing person photograph. Denise Brown. Kate recalled Catherine's reaction. Laughter. A comment about size. Information not visible in the image. Kate did not challenge it. She recorded it mentally. No confrontation. No questions. Survival priority remained intact. Ferguson asked for sequence. 2 nights earlier. A concert in central Perth. Friends present. A ride offered afterward. Partway through, Kate exited voluntarily. Distance underestimated. She walked alone. That is where the record stops for now. Vehicle description entered later. New model. Clean interior. No visible damage. She accepted the ride. Back seat. No hesitation recorded. They stopped outside her house. Lights off. Engine running. Rear door lacked a handle. Front window crank absent. Her hand moved twice. Nothing responded. Force followed immediately. Head driven forward between the seats. Orientation lost. A knife appeared at her throat. Kitchen grade. Long blade. Car stopped again. Wrists bound. Body wrapped in a blanket. Question asked. Answer given without pause. They had done this before. Procedure smooth. No confusion. Her internal response was fixed. Expectation of death. Shock narrowed to repetition. Inside the house, she was moved quickly. Bindings removed. Instruction given. Clothing placed into plastic bags. Each bag labeled. Full name. Age. Address. Purpose later inferred. Nothing remained loose. A cassette was selected. Rambo. The knife returned to her neck. They asked about her life. Family. Friends. A boyfriend. She answered carefully. She understood the function of the questions. The first assault occurred after midnight. Time approximated at 12:30. Preceded by prolonged interaction. Music played earlier. Romeo and Juliet. She was made to dance. Second assault followed. No interval noted. Chains were fixed to the bedposts. 4 points. Ankles spread. Wrists spread. She remained conscious throughout. Crying documented in her later statement. Afterward, handcuffs linked her ankle to his. Sleeping pills administered. She did not swallow them. Concealment confirmed. Sleep avoided deliberately. Fear centered on loss of consciousness. During the night, Catherine spoke freely. Mocking tone. References to other women. Names not used. Context implied. Kate interpreted this as confirmation. Previous victims. Outcome fatal. Her response shifted from endurance to record-keeping. Not escape. Preservation. Someone would know, even if she did not leave. Morning arrived without incident. Handcuffs removed. David left for work. Catherine retained control. Another film selected. Stallone again. Under threat. Kate began speaking more. Adjusted tone. Deliberate familiarity. Catherine listened. Attention lapsed intermittently. Briefly. Repeatedly. Each lapse was used. Not for movement. For continuation of a plan not yet visible. She did not plan to survive. That part stayed consistent. Instead, she deposited markers. Lipstick pressed into a beanbag seam. Cigarettes lifted overhead, placed above the ceiling line by standing on the back of the couch. Not hidden well. Hidden to be found. Purpose stated later. So the disappearance would not read as voluntary. Catherine instructed her to telephone home. A rehearsed script. Runaway language. Familiar to prior cases. Kate complied. Voice steady enough. During this period, Catherine failed to monitor movement. Missed the objects. Missed the intent. Later, Kate was locked into the bedroom. No chains this time. The lock alone. Threat issued clearly. Silence or death. That condition did not change. The escape mechanics had already been recorded elsewhere. Window forced outward. Fall. Concussion. Lateral movement across properties. Interrupted by a dog. Concluded at a shop front. Police contact initiated there. At the station, skepticism persisted until cross-checking began. Cassidy and Ferguson aligned Kate's statements against existing files. Order matched. Method matched. Language matched. The pattern closed. Conviction replaced doubt. Immediate response authorized. Kate was kept in the back seat. Driven past the address. Identification was not verbal. She folded forward. Cried. That was sufficient. The house appeared empty. Officers split to canvass. Across the street, Sandy Holloway confirmed movement. A young girl. Front window. Running unclothed down the lane. Warrant issued. Entry forced. Inside, the inventory aligned precisely. Lipstick recovered from the beanbag. Cigarettes from the ceiling space. A cassette still seated in the video player. A sleeping pill located on the bedroom floor. Chains. Numbered locks. No anomalies. Nothing was out of place. That was the disturbing part. Catherine Burney returned carrying cleaning supplies. Observed police. Fled. Apprehended within seconds. She showed no visible shock. Denied knowledge. Named her cohabitant. David Burney was located at his workplace. Taken separately. Interviews diverged. David presented as subdued. Evasive. Physically diminished. Catherine refused all questions. Invoked counsel. That position collapsed once she learned David was speaking. She redirected immediately. Blame shifted. Narrative expanded. Bodies referenced. Locations indicated. Investigators noted inconsistencies. They did not rely on her account. Kate's testimony already contained the structure. Victim selection. Command sequence. Observation during assaults. Catherine Burney documented reactions. Issued instructions. Maintained control. That hierarchy was fixed before interrogation began. Control dynamics were resolved early. Statements. Timelines. Physical corroboration. David Burney followed direction. Catherine Burney issued it. With admissions recorded, attention shifted backward. To the first recoveries. They drove south. Glen Eagle. Bushland pressed between a truck stop and a picnic reserve. Instructions came in fragments. Turn here. Stop there. A fallen log marked the first site. Behind it lay Sue Candy. Distance between graves was short. Mary Nielsen. Denise Brown. When the next name was raised, Catherine interrupted. She moved ahead of the group. She indicated another location herself. Lois Patterson. Witnesses noted the gesture. She spat once before stepping away. No explanation offered. Sentencing followed within weeks. Life imprisonment. No fixed end date. Files did not close. Patterns were rerun against older disappearances. Margins widened. Paul Ferguson logged unresolved similarities. Movement. Approach. After contact behavior. 3 cases resurfaced repeatedly. One involved a child. Cheryl Renwick. Barbara Weston. Lisa Mott. Evidence remained circumstantial. Insufficient for charge. In 2003, David Burney died in custody. Protective unit. Early morning. With him, some probability collapsed. Catherine Burney remained incarcerated. Decades passed. Parole eligibility cycles continued under state law. Intervals fixed. Outcomes uncertain. Kate Moyer was required to attend hearings. Again and again. Exposure accumulated. She redirected her role. A manuscript followed. Dead girl walking. Advocacy replaced testimony. Legislative attention shifted. A bill introduced. Year 2018. Threshold defined. 3 murders or more in one trial. Parole exclusion applied. The statute passed. That change didn't come from government. It came from one survivor. Kate Moyer did not return to anonymity. She did not retreat. In 2016, she met Constable Hancock again. Time elapsed. Recognition immediate. Concern remained mutual. Safety was present. The record closes unevenly. The final voice belongs elsewhere. Hospital room. A detective asking questions. The name attached to that voice, Ashley Wallace. Story 3. Transcript fragment. A child's voice. Age listed as 12. I heard a scream. Then, I heard a thud. Volume demonstrated with a hand motion. No measurement entered. Court record notes the follow-up question. Did he get up? Answer no. Reason given, fear. Long-standing. Directed at his father. Name on the cover page, Collier Landry. Relation, son. Only eyewitness identified. Marriage certificate on file. Nearly 20 years. Spouse Noreen. Address change recorded months earlier. New house. Basement unfinished. Date stamped January 25th. Location, Erie, Pennsylvania. Body located beneath the foundation. Police interview transcript, father speaking. Name, Dr. Jack Boyle. Profession listed multiple times. Children, 1 biological. Collier. Statement entered into evidence. Claim of manipulation. Accusation directed at a Mansfield detective. Language used, brainwashed. Purpose stated, discredit the child's account. Notebook recovered later. A line remembered by a witness, not written. My mother would never leave me. Said quietly. Repeated. Population statistics attached to a departmental report. Mansfield, Ohio. Industrial base. Steel. Medical registry shows 1 physician exceeding all others. Practice size, largest in Richland County. Usage estimate, 1 out of every 13 residents. Domestic history appears in fragments. Character references. A phrase attributed to the wife, Rajaholic. Temper described as sudden. Unsignaled. Home video timestamped 1990. A child in frame. Audio redacted in parts. Later testimony supplies the language used. Psychological harm alleged. Community statements compiled. Infidelities known. No formal consequence recorded. Until a ring appeared. Introduced casually. To the son. Divorce filing follows. Reason cited, involvement of the child. Holidays postponed the separation. No incident reported during that period. New Year's Eve. Time not logged precisely. Bedroom door closed. A scream. A thud. No movement from the hallway. Morning statements diverge. The child exits his room first. Takes a phone book. Calls begin before the father reaches the stairs. Friends contacted. Descriptions of fear and depression surface. Retrospective. Uncorroborated at the time. Police arrival log. Father's account recorded once. Argument acknowledged. Departure attributed to the wife. Means unspecified. Some records stop there. Others continue. Courtroom bench was cold. The microphone was adjusted twice. Officer arrival log. Question asked immediately. Who made the call? The father's posture noted by 1 witness. Fixed. Prolonged. It shifted only after the officer answered. Caller identified as one of Noreen's friends. No further challenge recorded. Missing person status entered days earlier. No criminal flag attached. Child witness discounted by age alone. The husband's explanation fit existing assumptions. No escalation. Detective assignment sheet lists David Messmore. Regional reputation noted in margins. Initial meeting location, family home. Interview notes describe the child as repetitive. Same sentence returned to again and again. She would not leave me. Marked as emotional fixation. Contradictory statement supplied by Christine Boyle. Age 76. Relationship, mother of Jack Boyle. Presence confirmed for the night in question. She reports noise. Does not define it. Supports her son's account. Her narrative reaches back 3 years. Holiday argument. Temporary departure. Return the following day. Used to establish pattern. She adds logistics. Jack traveling to Erie, Pennsylvania. Purpose, work on a newly purchased house. She states she was asked to watch the children. Names given, Collier. Elizabeth. Time passes without sightings. Neither Jack nor Noreen seen locally. A neighbor's call logged. Date, January 1st. Time, early morning. Observation, no one seen leaving the Boyle residence. Second police response authorized. Full forensic unit deployed. Protective clothing. Evidence kits opened. Statement later given by an attending officer. Expectation stated, possible homicide. Outcome, none observed. Processing ends. House cleared. Unit departs. Value of the visit changes later. Not immediately. Detective Messmore obtains a moment alone with the child. Grandmother absent. The account repeats. Scream. Impact. Stillness. Additional detail emerges. Post-trip observation. Father returned from Erie. Complained of shoulder and arm pain. Liniment applied by the child. Not routine behavior. Notes describe the recall as compressed but precise. Messmore flags it. Christine Boyle approaches. Interview terminated. Detective hands over a card. Instruction brief. Call the station when possible. Internal memo written later. Mentions concern. Not certainty. School records intersect the case. The child initiates contact. Requests the principal to call police. Names Messmore specifically. Subsequent meetings occur at the school. Location chosen for safety. This is not stated officially. It is implied. By this stage, Messmore is restricted. No further access to the Boyle house approved. Lack of evidence cited. A communication pattern forms. Child reports observations from inside the home. Detective reports nothing new. Duration measured in weeks. Risk assessment documented verbally only. Detective warns the child. If the father is responsible, proximity is dangerous. Child continues anyway. Each morning follows a routine. Principal's office. Same question. Department consensus remains unchanged. Classification unchanged. Woman left after infidelity discovered. No assault. No homicide. No crime. The school office phone rang before the first bell. Internal correspondence shows strain. One detective isolated. One child supplying details. Department consensus already formed. Captain's directive summarized later. Small town. Prominent physician. Domestic dispute framed as departure. Case slated for closure. Messmore objects. Reason noted only once. The kid. Before closure paperwork advances, new material appears. Not from police work. From a glove compartment. Father stops for fuel. Leaves the engine running. Leaves the child alone in the truck. 2 photographs recovered. Not logged by police at the time. Jack Boyle pictured with a woman. Location, exterior and interior of the Erie property. Name later attached, Sherry. No prior documentation linking her to Jack. The child reports the photographs immediately. Timeline suggests same day. Department response shifts. Real estate agent contacted. Hardware stores canvassed in 2 cities. Purchase histories requested. Shovel inquiries logged. Telephone call placed to Sherry. Questions asked directly. Affair implied. This activity does not remain invisible. Jack notices. Interpretation later offered. Police knowledge exceeds plausible chance. Information must be coming from inside the house. Decision made that night. Family trip announced. Destination, Florida. Departure, next day. Reason not recorded. Questions deflected. Another call follows. Child to detective. Tone described as urgent. Risk assessment revised. Only eyewitness. Potential offender in control of travel. Outcome unacceptable. Investigation paused by order of the detective. Condition, child removed first. Morning of January 24th, 1990. Time 6 a.m. Two unfamiliar adults enter the bedroom. Identification, Child Protective Services with police support. Instruction delivered. 20 minutes. Pack essentials. Child relocated. House cleared. With that barrier removed, inquiry resumes. Real estate transaction file reviewed in person. Agent Michelle Barth. Contract signatures examined. Woman present at signing does not match Noreen. Agent describes her as young. Pregnant. Appearance inconsistent with known photographs. Additional pressure documented. Jack requests early occupancy. House to be emptied by January 1st. A question recalled by the agent. Asked casually. Basement floor. What lies beneath? Response recorded as confusion. Hardware rental logs arrive next. One item stands out. Jackhammer. Rented 2 days before the disappearance. Correlation noted internally. Concrete floor. Early access. Rental timing. Search warrant approved. Property, Erie, Pennsylvania. Technicians dispatched. Tools listed: shovels, pickaxes. Basement condition logged on entry. Floor painted gray. Green carpet installed. Shelving newly mounted. Renovation complete. One technician reports inconsistency. Section of concrete softer than surrounding areas. Mortar not fully set. Instruction given without delay. Remove everything. Shelving removed first. Then the carpet. Indoor-outdoor type. Green. Concrete exposed. A shallow dip becomes visible. Not level. Measured only by sight. Digging begins. Tools strike resistance. Then odor. Immediate. Unmistakable. A body is located beneath the slab. Encased. Weeks underground. Identification not possible on site. Arrest executed the same day. Jack Boyle taken into custody. Secondary searches follow. Primary residence cleared. Basement cleared. Vehicles examined one by one. Vacuum samples taken from each car. Fibers logged. No biological transfer of note. No usable trace recovered. Forensics returns little. Cause inferred. Mechanism unproven. Trial preparation proceeds without physical linkage. One body. No tool. No blood. No direct transfer evidence. Detective Messmore requests a visit. Location, foster placement. Purpose, testimony. Before agreement, questions are asked. About appearance. About peace. Answers given carefully. Not documented verbatim. Family contact drops away. Maternal side disengages. Paternal side disputes credibility. Age cited as reason. The detective remains present. No one else. The child breaks down. No record made of duration. Only noted that it happened. A proposal is offered. Testify. Establish sequence. Make the record complete. Consent is immediate. Pretrial interval lasts 5 months. Proceedings open on June 4th, 1990. Venue, Richland County. Charge murder. The child takes the stand. Name stated aloud. Age 12. Testimony covers infidelity. The ring. The photographs. The night sounds. Scream. Impact. Another witness follows. Name, Sherry Campbell. Pregnancy confirmed. Paternity admitted. Prosecution states motive. Relocation. Replacement. Imminent child. Defense denies all harm. No alternate suspect offered. Jury views excavation recording. Reaction not entered into evidence. Deliberation ends with conviction. Verdict read in full. Judge warns the room. Reaction shifts to the hallway. Post-conviction activity continues. Family petitions filed. Alternate narratives introduced. One claim alleges contact with the victim after death. Another questions the body's identity. From incarceration, Jack Boyle reviews autopsy materials. Errors alleged. Inconsistencies listed. For years later, the body is exhumed again. Purpose, DNA confirmation. Technology now available. A deputy stood by the door, hands folded, waiting for the room to quiet. The challenge is raised through paperwork. Post-conviction motion. Focus, identification. Defense targets the remains. Asserts error. Asserts substitution. Laboratory response arrives later. DNA comparison completed. Result, conclusive. Identity confirmed as Noreen Boyle. The attempt fails. No revision entered. Custody records update quietly. Siblings separated. Collier placed with foster parents. Elizabeth elsewhere. No joint placement approved. School reports stabilize. Behavior improves. No further incidents logged. Years pass without notation. Education completed. Career later listed as filmmaker. Correctional mail logs show repetition. Incoming letters. Sender, Jack Boyle. Frequency, every few months. Duration, decades. Content summarized, not quoted. Requests. Pressure. Retraction sought. No compliance recorded. After roughly 25 years, activity changes. A project file appears. Format, documentary. Subject, the case. Perspective, first person. Production notes reference a final scene. Location, prison. Interview attempt scheduled. Questions prepared. No answers obtained. Interview ends unresolved. Subsequent statements indicate acceptance. Reason remains unknown. Later work shifts focus. Public appearances. Advocacy noted. Assistance to others documented. Case file closes gradually. No further legal action. A new record begins abruptly. Unrelated. Different family. Audio identifier changes. Speaker named Sean Russell. Status, husband. Father. Date logged, July 9, 1996. He returns home from work. The envelope kept coming, long after the verdict stopped being news. Story 4. Attendance log. Mira Loma High School Auditorium. November 8, 1977. Roughly 700 people sign in. Folding chairs. Flyers. A microphone that squeals once and is adjusted. The notice on the door says the meeting concerns public safety. The subject is a man responsible for 27 confirmed attacks. Photographs are taken from the back of the room. Uniformed officers stand along the walls. Later review notes will suggest the offender may be present in one of those images. This belief is not shared with the audience. Earlier material. November 3, 1976. Del Deo High School. Another meeting. Smaller crowd. Transcript fragment. A male voice stands and states he would kill the predator if the man ever entered his home. The name is recorded. The statement is not flagged. Months later, the same residence appears in a report. The man is attacked. His wife is assaulted. The sequence aligns with prior offenses. No confession follows. Newspaper clippings accumulate. Neighborhood maps with circles drawn in pen. Sacramento County. Fear becomes ambient. Unscheduled purchases spike. Locks. Lights. Dogs. A girl begins collecting information. Age 13. Her name will matter later. October 29, 1976. Margaret Wardlow. Youngest known target at that point. Her familiarity with prior attacks alters the outcome. She survives. After that night, the notes change. A margin comment appears more than once. Children. Case file. Female, age 29. Married. Assaulted while husband restrained nearby. Instruction given to the husband during the assault. This detail is repeated across briefings. Public statements are recorded. Threats of retaliation. Firearms mentioned. Safety not improved. Geographic subsection. Carmichael, California. Just outside Sacramento. Household registry, Pedretti family. Female, age 15. Name Chris. School records indicate normal attendance. No prior incidents. Front yard activity noted by neighbors. No awareness of risk documented. The attacks begin in June. This information does not reach her. October 5, 1976. Distance. Approximately 3 miles from the Pedretti residence. Victim, Jane Carson. Home occupancy, herself and her 3-year-old son. Husband at work. Time approximated as early morning. Garage door closes. Flashlight beam observed in hallway. The intruder wears a ski mask. Carries a butcher knife. Uses shoelaces to bind wrists and ankles. Gags. Blindfolds. House is searched. Property disturbance noted. Assault continues for hours. Verbal threats documented. When law enforcement arrives, the subject has departed. Assigned investigator, Carol Daly, Sheriff's Department. Interview notes emphasize the offender's control. No identifying features obtained. Label applied in reports, East Area Rapist. Pattern summary. Repeated streets. Close proximity between scenes. Escalation without capture. Chris Pedretti does not read the papers. Her parents do not discuss the case. This absence is consistent across interviews. December 18th, 1976. Evening hours. Parents attend a Christmas gathering. Chris remains home alone. She sits at the piano. A sound interrupts her playing. It stops. Silence follows. A neighbor later recalls the house lights were on. Nothing else unusual. Initial contact statement. Knife. Pressure at the throat. Verbal threat recorded verbatim. Make a sound and I will kill you. Physiological response noted later. Freeze. Cognitive interruption. Blindfold applied. Gag secured. Wrists bound. Movement outside the structure. Backyard. Clothing cut away. No visual input. Auditory details persist. Male voice inside the house. Profanity. Drawers. Cabinets. Waiting without definition. Return to the interior. Primary bedroom. Assault occurs. Victim age 15. No prior knowledge of sexual acts. No contextual understanding. Lost statement appears in later interview. Irretrievable. Behavior consistent with earlier files. Extended presence. Proximity. Monitoring minor movements. Threat repetition logged. Conditional language. Immediate consequence implied. Duration exceeds 1 hour. Fatigue documented. Fear exhaustion. Blindfold displaced through friction. Victim rises while still restrained. Subject no longer present. Response sequence. Sheriff's office intake. Medical examination. Interview. Case numbering updated. Victim 10. Family directive issued the following day. No discussion permitted. Compliance lasts decades. First sibling conversation occurs when the victim is 58. Post-event behavior. Hypervigilance. Male strangers categorized as potential offender. Expectation shifts from possibility to inevitability. Media coverage reviewed obsessively. Specific broadcast detail noted. Threat relayed in news report. If coverage appears, 2 people will be killed that night. Victim certainty recorded. Not fear. Certainty. Overnight vigilance. No sleep. Environmental reaction. Late fall escalation. 2 to 3 incidents per month. Retail data. Locks unavailable. Firearms depleted. March 8, 1977. Victim count reaches 15. No suspect identified. Offender proficiency assessed. Minimal trace. Predictive awareness of response intervals. Operational knowledge of law enforcement. Pattern summary updated. No male occupants present during assaults. Media publishes this detail. Pattern breaks immediately. March 18th. Couple targeted. Location reference. Ignacio Valley Shopping Center vicinity. Time, early morning. Female victim age, 29. Male partner restrained nearby. Glassware placed on the man's back. Auditory threat mechanism. Conditional execution. Administrative response. Community forums authorized. Attendance exceeds expectation. Firearm questions dominate. Lethal intent statements recorded. Public meeting transcript. Male attendee states intent to kill intruder if encountered. Family protection emphasized. May 17th. Same man's residence. Attack occurs. Wife assaulted. Temporal proximity noted. Speculation logged but not resolved. Possible offender presence at prior meeting. Possible response to verbal challenge. Residual statement from another attendee. Possession of a gun does not restore safety. Residual symptom log. Persistent scanning. Left shoulder favored. Questions repeat without answers. Address record. Mar Riviera Drive. Sacramento. November 1977. Occupants. Margaret Wardlow, age 13. Mother, adult female. Clippings recovered from the home later show heavy wear. Margins folded. Headlines circled. Dates underlined. Subject demonstrates non-standard engagement for age. Reads everything available. Patterns. Quotes. Speculation copied into notebooks. Parental reassurance noted. Age mismatch assumed protective. Statement accepted at face value. Investigative briefings shift tone during this period. Language hardens. Concern escalates. Internal memo. Probability of homicide increasing. Next call may not involve survival. November 10th, 1977. Early morning hours. School day following. Flashlight beam recorded in statement. Face obscured by mask. Hands restrained behind the back. Auditory perception expands. Kitchen activity. Plates moved. Glass contact. Victim inference aligns with known offender practice. Movement documented. Male footsteps leave the room. Direction, mother's bedroom. Cognitive response, described afterward. Acceptance without panic. Expectation set. Memory isolates a single behavioral constant. Offender feeds on fear. Decision formed. Verbal exchange reconstructed from testimony. Threats issued in whisper. Conditional harm to the mother. Victim response, neutral. No pleading. No escalation. Physiological markers absent. Fear withheld. Outcome logged. Survival. Post-incident evaluation notes deviation from prior victim responses. Detective assessment included in case review. Victim resilience exceptional. Aggregate count updated. 27 attacks. No composite agreed upon. No confirmed identity. Case exhaustion documented among investigators. Sleep disruption common. Intrusive recall persists. October 1979. Incident frequency drops to 0. No closure memo issued. No explanation recorded. Phone records indicate delayed harassment continues. Calls placed months, sometimes years, after attacks. Purpose consistent with taunting. Geographic shift observed. Southern California. Inter-county data sharing limited. Connections not made. New designation appears in press. Original Night Stalker. Term predates later usage. Fatality records. December 30th, 1979. Goleta. Dr. Robert Offerman. Alexandra Manning. March 13th, 1980. Ventura. Lyman Smith. Charlene Smith. August 19th. Dana Point. Keith Harrington. Patrice Harrington. February 5th, 1981. Irvine. Manuela Withun. July 1981. Santa Barbara County. A realtor enters a residence. Discovery logged as violent. Scene escalates the file classification. The earlier silence ends. Scene report. Santa Barbara County. 2 bodies located. Names entered later. Sherry Domingo. Greg Sanchez. Bindings present on Sherry. Blunt force trauma documented. Greg shows ballistic injury. Additional blunt impact noted. No immediate continuation. 5-year gap logged as inactive. File status unchanged. May 4th, 1986. New entry. Victim, Janelle Cruz. Youngest recorded in the homicide series. Cause murder. The silence ends. Personal denial statements appear years later in victim interviews. Belief that the offender had died. Coping through omission. 1994. Cold case unit intake. Investigator name, Paul Holes. Discovery. Folders labeled East Area Rapist. No prior familiarity recorded. Paper volume substantial. Chronology loops back to Sacramento, 1979. Engagement noted. Sustained. Technological update. DNA profiling expands capability. Initial optimism documented. Expectation of rapid resolution. 2001. Laboratory comparison. Sacramento samples align with Southern California samples. Conclusion authorized. East Area Rapist equals Original Night Stalker. Database limitation encountered. No prior conviction. No compulsory DNA entry. Progress stalls. External contact initiated. Michelle McNamara. Independent researcher. Not law enforcement. Contribution includes pattern synthesis. Behavioral insight. Terminology revision. New name circulates. Golden State Killer. Collaborative acknowledgement entered into notes. Value assigned without formal role. Momentum perceived. Extended duration. More than 6 years. Personal cost recorded indirectly. April 21st, 2016. Death attributed to undiagnosed heart condition. Investigation impact not formally assessed. 2 months later. Nationwide effort launched. Time pressure escalates. Witness mortality becomes a concern. Investigators aging. Urgency language appears in memos. April 2018. Alternative approach proposed. Crime scene DNA uploaded to a public genealogy platform. Results returned within 1 day. Familial matches generated. List narrowed. Name surfaces, Joseph D'Angelo. Retired. Former law enforcement. Residence, Citrus Heights. Distance measured. Approximately 7 miles from earlier attack site. Confirmation required. Surveillance conducted without notice. Discarded tissue retrieved from refuse. Laboratory testing performed. Match confirmed. No ambiguity remains. Public announcement follows. Age listed, 72. Identity established. Background review initiated. Employment history. Hired as a police officer in Exeter, 1973. Overlap between duty and offense timelines noted. Evidence manipulation suspected. Scene access confirmed. Media engagement inferred. Community fear observed as reinforcement. Attendance logs from past public meetings revisited. Presence cannot be excluded. Victim reactions documented individually. Shock reported. Delayed psychological processing resumes. Family discussions begin decades late. Judicial proceedings commence. National attention sustained. Case burden quantified in time lost, sleep disrupted, lives altered. August 18, 2020. Proceedings continue. Court protocol memo. Victim impact statements authorized at close of proceedings. Order set. Names queued. Transcript excerpt begins without preface. Date spoken aloud. Early morning, July 17, 1976. Age at time of assault, 15. Loss enumerated. Innocence. Security. Directive issued to the defendant. Eye contact requested. Memory demanded. Single opportunity notation entered in margins. Address to the defendant continues. Secrecy referenced. Dual identity acknowledged as concluded. Descriptive language escalates. Mask. Cowardice. Visibility. Physical state observed in courtroom. Orange uniform. Restraints present. Movement limited. August 21st. Plea agreement finalized. Admissions recorded. 13 counts of murder. 13 counts of kidnapping with robbery. Arraignment audio. Charge read. Response given guilty. Additional admissions entered to remove capital exposure. 160 offenses acknowledged. Includes multiple sexual assaults. Individual confirmation. Jane Doe 11. October 13, 1978. Question posed. Response, I admit. Before adjournment, further statements permitted. Tone shifts. A detail is read aloud from prior reports. Repetition across victims noted. Physiological description consistent. Reaction in the room logged as unexpected. Laughter. Sustained. Humiliation effect inferred by observers. Sentencing summary. Life imprisonment. No parole. Custody location, state penitentiary. Duration, remainder of natural life. Post-verdict reactions collected. Relief statements. Smiles noted. Confrontation achieved. Language of separation appears. Darkness referenced. Forward movement implied. Survivor coordination emerges. Informal group forms. Facilitator named, Pre. Network expands beyond primary victims. Family members included. Friends included. Core message repeated in meetings. Speech permitted. Silence optional, not required. Metaphor appears in notes. Cage. Key. Hesitation documented. Access acknowledged. Some survivors remain seated long after the room clears. No one speaks. Unrelated call log appended. Sheriff Barber's office. Caller identifies herself, Valerie Haythorne. Concern raised regarding employee absence. Behavior described as uncharacteristic. Caller reports self-entry into residence. Condition inside summarized abruptly. Disarray everywhere. Story 5. There are 6 photographs on the table. Glossy. Bent at the corners. The instruction is simple. Look, don't guess. Say nothing unless something sticks. One image is isolated. A man. This is the one you were with last night. Under the bridge. The child nods. She does not elaborate. Her name is Amber Daniels. 10 years old. The children had already been found by then. Hours earlier. On the shoulder of a road that does not lead anywhere useful. Bare feet. Pajamas. 2 younger girls walking close enough to touch each other. A farmer noticed them because they did not belong there. No bags. No coats. One of them said they came from Santa Claus, Georgia. It sounded wrong even before the distance was calculated. Bacon County deputies brought them in. Asked routine questions that didn't stay routine for long. Names matched. Address matched. All 3 were Daniel's children. The house was known. Foster placements. In and out. Too many kids over too many years. That part came later, written in margins. A deputy was sent to the address. The front door was open. No voices. No movement that answered when he announced himself. An alarm clock radio was going off somewhere inside. A security system chirped without stopping. A baby cried. That sound carried. Under the kitchen table, something shifted. A boy. Small. Silent. He did not cry. He pointed. There was blood on the bedroom doorframe. Not sprayed. Transferred. Inside, a woman on the floor. Young. Not moving. On the bed, shapes under covers that did not rise. An adult man. An adult woman. The baby was alive. Still crying. Another room. A child's bed. A little boy motionless. Blood where it should not be. No confirmation, yet if the person who did this was still there. The deputy gathered the living and left. Back at the station, the girls were separated. Questions repeated until they sounded thin. Amber spoke first. She said a man took her from her bedroom. She said his name was Scott. That name traveled faster than the rest of the details. Earlier than all of this, years earlier, Amber was 8. Her mother, Kim, had been drinking and then had stopped. That matters only because it explains paperwork. The children had been placed and replaced. Different houses. Same last name written in different handwriting. Kim went to meetings. Alcoholics Anonymous. Folding chairs. Coffee that never tasted right. There she met Danny Daniels. They married. They took in children. They built something that looked stable from the outside. I remember the house being quiet in a way that didn't fit the time of day. The photographs are still on the table. 6 of them. Only one matters right now. Amber does not hesitate when she sees it. They stopped drinking first. Everything else followed unevenly. Paperwork cleared. Child services signed off. The return happened on a day that stayed bright in Amber's memory long after other details blurred. She ran forward. Arms. Familiar. A man stood behind her mother, not stepping away. Open hands. He did not hesitate. Danny Daniels. Marriage came quickly after that. Households folded together without much ceremony. Danny's teenage daughter, Jessica. Kim's children, Brooke, Bryant, Amber. The roof stayed the same, but the count changed. For once, stability did not feel temporary. Before this, Kim had been the one asking for help. After sobriety, the direction reversed. She wanted other children to land where hers had landed. Foster placements began quietly. Names rotated through. Beds filled. Amber remembered it as noise and movement. Kids everywhere. Games. Arguments that didn't last. One of the first was a girl named Joanne. Same age. Red hair. Immediate attachment. Friendship decided without discussion. Joanne's mother visited. She brought her son. Jerry Scott Heidler. 18 years old. Called Scott by the kids. He stayed long enough to blend in. He played. Trampoline. Yard games. Fishing lessons. Lifted children onto his shoulders. Nothing stood out at the time. That detail matters only because of how ordinary it was. Then he stopped coming. No explanation given to the children. 2 years passed. Joanne returned to her mother. Jerry disappeared with her. By then, the Daniels home was fuller than before. 7 children. 3 of them foster placements. December approached with routine excitement. A tree went up. 4th of December, 1997. Amber slept. No warning. No sound that made sense yet. She woke to someone shouting her name. Close. Urgent. Even after 2 years, recognition came fast. Jerry. Voices carried from another room. Crying. Multiple. Overlapping. He said they had to leave. Immediately. Amber asked where her parents were. He said they were gone already. Said they were waiting. Said he was sent to get her and her sisters, Amanda and Brooke. It was said quickly, like something rehearsed. They moved down the hallway. At the kitchen entrance, Amber looked back. Corey, for years old, was under the table. Still. Watching. A baby crying somewhere else. Gabe. Why are we leaving them? Jerry said their parents would return. That answer ended the question. Trust carried more weight than logic at that age. The van. Doors closed. Engine on. He said he was taking them to their parents. The road stayed empty longer than expected. After more than half an hour, the van slowed. Turned. Stopped beneath a bridge. No houses. No lights close enough. He told Amber to move to the back. Amanda and Brooke were pushed forward. He removed his clothes. A knife was visible in his boot. A gun on the floor. Amber noticed both. He assaulted her. She stayed still because the others were there. Afterward, he told her to dress. She did. No words exchanged. The van moved again. The girls stayed quiet. Shock flattened everything. Then the vehicle stopped once more. A bridge. Higher. Open. Jerry took the gun, ordered all three out. He kept the weapon raised as he walked toward the edge. There was no traffic. That's what I remember noticing. Below the bridge, water moved fast enough to erase sound. The three girls stayed pressed together, waiting for whatever came next. Then the gun went over the rail. No warning. No ceremony. It disappeared into the dark. Something shifted in Amber's thinking. Not relief. Timing. They were out of the van. That mattered. She ran first. Bare feet on gravel. Pajamas tearing at the knees. Jerry shouted behind them. Close enough to feel. They ran harder. He reached Brooke before the distance opened. One hand. An arm jerked backward. Everything stopped there. He said if Amber didn't come back, he would throw Brooke over the bridge. Said she would never see her again. The choice collapsed into one direction. Amber turned around. She and Amanda walked back. Slowly. No discussion. Jerry kept hold of Brooke until the others were close enough. The van doors closed again. They drove farther from home. Another road. Narrower. Amber asked where they were going. Jerry yelled. The tone changed. He stopped in a dead-end clearing and ordered them out. 5 minutes. He said it more than once. 5 minutes. Stay here. Don't move. The van drove away. They stood where they were told. Long enough for the sound to thin out. Long enough for the lights to disappear. Amber counted. Not to 5 minutes. 65 seconds. Then she said run. They moved down the road without direction. Just away. A farmhouse appeared ahead. Dim, isolated. Hope formed briefly. Headlights cut across the road instead. Amber pushed the younger girls into a ditch. They crouched. Mud soaked through thin fabric. The car slowed. Amber believed they had been found again. That this was the end of it. The door opened. A man stepped out. Not Jerry. A farmer. Confused. Concerned. He asked questions that didn't sound dangerous. Amber told her sisters to come out. They were taken inside. The phone call was made. At the station, people kept arriving. Family members she barely recognized. Too many adults in one room. Amber asked where her parents were. Corey answered. Flat. Certain. They're dead. She told him to stop lying. No one corrected him. The room stayed quiet long enough for understanding to settle. Shock carried her through the next part. She gave the name without hesitation. Jerry Scott Heidler. She explained how he knew the house. That he was Joanne's brother. That he used to visit. Play. Stay too long. That he paid attention to Jessica in ways that weren't wanted. Police already had a file. A prior arrest. Driving under the influence. A photograph. 6 images were placed in front of her. No pressure. No urgency. If you recognize anyone, say so. She pointed. That's him. To build the record, they asked her to start over. From the beginning. Every stop. Every road. Every word he said. She showed them where the dirt road was. What direction the van turned. What Jerry told her, and when. She did not skip anything. Using what Amber described, investigators returned to the house. The work was slow. Methodical. Fingerprints lifted where they could be lifted. A cigarette, but collected from the floor. Biological material bagged without commentary. The house no longer resembled a home in any useful way. The working timeline settled around one point. Early morning. Around 1 o'clock. Detectives believed entry was made through a rear window. No forced door. Someone who knew the layout. He went first to the oldest girl's room. Jessica, 16. What happened there did not stay contained. Resistance is assumed. Movement toward the parents' bedroom follows. From there, familiarity mattered. The shotgun was stored in a cabinet. Not hidden. Accessible if you already knew where to look. Shots were fired in the bedroom. Jessica, Kim, Danny, an 8-year-old boy, Bryant, in another room. Ammunition ran out. That part explains the order, not the reason. After that, Amber's room. She was taken with the 2 younger girls. The house was left behind full of sound that no one heard yet. The evidence in Amber's account aligned closely enough. An arrest was justified. The problem was location. He was gone. Resources shifted outward. Roads. Relatives. Familiar addresses. Attention narrowed to his mother's home in Alma, Georgia. About an hour from the crime scene. Officers arrived without resistance. The house appeared empty. They searched anyway. Under the floor, a crawl space. Small. Inadequate. He was there. The charges followed in bulk. 4 murders. 3 kidnappings. Burglary. Waiting for trial took time that did not heal anything. Amber waited too. Her mother, her stepfather, her sister, her brother, all gone before December finished. That Christmas passed without structure. No tree, no gathering, just absence. The trial began in late August 1999. Amber was 13. Her interview was played in court. Her voice carried the night back into the room without asking permission. The town filled the benches. No one came out untouched. The jury deliberated for 20 minutes. Early December, the verdict was read. Guilty on all counts. The sentence was death. He remains there. Years moved forward without asking whether they should. Amber did not stop there. She built a life that did not circle the crime. She started a family. Paid attention to the details that once mattered to her mother. Love was applied deliberately. What happened did not change its shape. But it stopped directing everything else. That was enough. Story 6. Security camera file. Convenience store. A man at the counter. A child beside him. He buys a drink. The child stands apart. Arms folded. Her eyes do not meet his. The man calls himself her father. She answers to Dad. The footage does not explain the gap between them. A phone call log follows. A clerk's voice uncertain. She says the girl looks like Shasta Groney. The date is July 2nd, 2005. The call is not confident. It is recorded anyway. 2 months earlier, missing children bulletin. 8-year-old Shasta Groney. Her brother Dylan. Disappeared near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The case file notes a suspect at large. Investigators later describe sleeplessness. Nightmares are mentioned, but not catalogued. Property notes. A house just outside Coeur d'Alene. Children observed in the yard. Surveillance occurred before entry. The offender selected the location knowing children lived there. Family records. Shasta lived with her mother Brenda, her brothers Dylan and Slade, and Brenda's boyfriend Mark. Her parents divorced when she was 2. Finances limited. No prior violence documented in the household. Personal effects inventory includes music records in the home. Cooking utensils show frequent use. Family photographs show camping and fishing trips. Shasta and Dylan appear together in most images. School statements describe Dylan as socially adaptable. Popular. Protective of peers. No behavioral warnings attached. Time stamp. 6 in the morning, May 16, 2005. Bedroom. Shasta asleep. Her mother wakes her. The words recorded later are fragmented. A man is in the house. He does not want them there. Living room. A man holding a shotgun. Zip ties. Duct tape. Hands bound. Face down on the floor. Audio recollections note confusion. At first, the man is mistaken for law enforcement. That changes when restraints are applied. Impact evidence follows. Hammer marks. Mark, Brenda, Slade, each struck. The order is not fixed in statements. There are sounds described as bangs. Screaming. No gunfire recorded. Shasta reports uncertainty about who is alive. No confirmation at the time. The 2 youngest children are separated. Shasta and Dylan are taken outside. Placed under a tree. The backyard shows disturbed ground. Slade exits the house despite injuries. He attempts to flee. The man pursues him. Additional blows. Slade collapses near a picnic table. He sits, then lies down. Condition critical. Vehicle transfer. Shasta and Dylan are placed in the car. They leave the property. Distance logged at nearly 100 miles. Destination. A remote campground near St. Regis, Montana. Lolo National Forest jurisdiction. At the campsite, the man speaks. He references a hammer. A neighbor later says the house looked quiet that morning. Statement transcript. The man shows the children a hammer. He names it. Says it was used on their mother, on Mark, on Slade. He says none of them are alive. He says they will not see them again. Separate log. Neighbor arrival. Purpose, payment for lawn work. $10 noted. Mud across the front door. No response inside. Emergency call placed. Scene entry photographs follow. Interior damage extensive. Blood patterns inconsistent with a single room. Investigators later describe it as the most severe they had handled. That phrase appears in 2 interviews, not in reports. Initial police radio traffic. 1 adult female deceased. 1 adult male deceased. 1 juvenile male deceased. 2 children unaccounted for. Identification confirms Brenda Groney. Mark McKenzie. Slade Groney, 13 years old. Slade's body is located near Brenda's. Evidence suggests movement after injury. He made it back inside before dying. Perimeter search yields nothing. Backyard. Tree line. No children. Family contacts checked. No sightings. No explanations. Abduction protocol initiated. Statistical note added to the file. Family members are common suspects in child disappearances. Interview conducted with Steve, the children's father. Recent custody dispute acknowledged. Public appeal made by him on camera. He asks for their release. The wording raises suspicion among officers. Polygraph administered. Physiological fluctuation recorded when asked about the children's location. He denies involvement. Digital forensics place him at home during the killings. Timestamps verified. He is cleared. Bulletin update. 2 children missing since Monday. Hundreds of tips logged. None verified. Community response escalates. Amber alert issued. Fear noted in local media summaries. Tip volume increases. Patterns do not form. Crime scene assessment indicates no theft. Valuables untouched. Injury severity noted. Investigators flag the event as personal. Passion is mentioned but not defined. Meanwhile, distance grows between the search and the children. At the campsite and later a nearby cabin, abuse begins. Property damage recorded in later statements. Dylan is targeted more frequently. Shasta is forced to watch. A ranger later says the area was quiet that week. Nighttime incident documented. The abductor escalates. He introduces conditions. Obedience is promised a return home. Letters are written. Handwriting samples preserved. They are never mailed. The promise is withdrawn without explanation. Shasta later says it was meant to keep hope alive. Dylan's hope diminishes over time. That detail appears once and is not expanded. Investigators continue. Time passes. Survival probability drops. A new lead emerges from a social event. Barbecue at the house the day before the murders. Fingerprint lifted from the door. Match found. Name entered, Robert Yates Luttrell. Criminal history present. Outstanding debt to Brenda and Mark alleged. The file does not yet say where he was that morning. Lead follow-up record. Name, Robert Yates Luttrell. Interview attempt logged. Subject not located. Parole officer statement added later. Luttrell left town shortly after the murders. Timing noted. No warrant issued at that point. Then contact. Luttrell calls his parole officer. Learns police want to speak with him. Returns on his own. Interview room audio runs for hours. He denies involvement. Requests a polygraph. Test administered. Results read as a pass. No physical evidence connects him. No corroboration. He is removed from the suspect list. Case notes thin out again. At the campsite, days continue without markers. Shasta begins to understand there is no release planned. Dylan's behavior changes first. Withdrawal. Silence noted in later recollections. She responds by speaking more. Makes promises she cannot verify. Says they will survive. The words are repeated later in testimony, unchanged. Abuse escalates. Alcohol introduced. Drugs unidentified. The man waits until they are impaired. Then talks. He describes other children. Names surface much later, Amija White. Carmen. 2 sisters from Seattle. He explains methods. Locations. The placement of bodies. Some details later match known cases. Shasta listens. Pretends compliance. She does not drink when told to. That detail appears once. She starts asking him questions. About his life. His family. Whether she could meet them. This is deliberate. She later says it was intentional. A method. For a short period, his behavior shifts. Fewer outbursts. Less shouting. Approximately 1 month after the abduction, a task is introduced. A squirrel. If they catch it, they can go home. The animal appears repeatedly near the site. Avoids capture. Eventually Dylan succeeds. They are told to pack. Hope returns briefly. The record shows no reason for it. Gunshot. Then another. Shasta is holding Dylan's hand. She hears the first sound. The second follows. Dylan collapses. The man cries afterward. Says it was accidental. Then says it was necessary. Says it spared pain. Shasta is instructed to help. Tarp deployed. The body is moved. Burned. Afterward, she stops speaking. Duration estimated at about 1 week. This is self-reported. No outside observation exists. 6 weeks after the initial abduction, location changes. Higher elevation campsite abandoned. They move lower on the mountain. Tent setup differs. Visibility increases. Foot traffic nearby. Shasta is restrained inside. Chains noted. She can see people pass. She does not call out. Threats are ongoing. The condition is understood without repetition. A hiker later reports seeing a man camping with a child, but did not stop. The file does not record how many people walked past. Night sequence. No date attached in her first account. Only later aligned to early July. A decision is presented to the child. 2 options. Strangulation. Gunfire, like her brother. She speaks instead of answering. Chooses the method that allows words. Rope documented. Fiber later recovered. Pressure applied. Duration unclear. Physiological response described in fragments. Loss of vision. White field. A voice she recognizes but cannot place in time. The rope does not loosen. She addresses him by the name he offered earlier. Jet. The name interrupts the act. He reacts. Pauses. Cries. Says he cannot continue. Contact stops. Afterward, no escape attempt recorded. Instead, continued proximity. She reinforces attachment. Rejects the idea of going home when it is raised. Tells him she wants to stay. The statements are deliberate. Calendar reference appears again. July 2nd, 2005. 7 weeks since removal from the house. A conversation is logged from her later statement. He asks if she will be his child. If she will call him dad. He proposes a visit to his mother. She agrees. Travel planning follows. She introduces her own conditions. Wants to show him where she grew up. School. A friend's house. Locations tied to people. Vehicle movement places them back in Coeur d'Alene. Convenience store transaction captured on security camera. Drink purchased. Distance maintained. No immediate intervention. Tip is delayed until footage review. Food request follows. Public restaurant selected. Denny's. Entrance photograph confirms missing poster displayed near the door. Witness statements begin to overlap here. A group outside notices her. A nod exchanged. A waitress looks up. Amber Dean's account enters the file. Single table seated. The man speaks for the child. Permission required before she answers. Suspicion noted without confrontation. Manager notified. Police contacted. The call references uncertainty. A resemblance. A tall man. Shasta remains seated. Anticipates failure. Believes he may explain it away. The man prepares to leave. Delay tactics appear. Receipt printer issue. Bodies positioned near exits by other patrons. Police arrival time logged. An officer asks the child her name. A cook later says the room went quiet all at once. The record stops there and resumes with custody transfer. Name confirmation occurs at the table. The child answers clearly. Officers separate the man immediately. Physical distance established. Breathing steadies. Applause breaks out across the room. Multiple witness statements note spontaneous clapping. No instruction given. The response is collective. Before transport, the child speaks again. She identifies the man as the person who killed her family and took her. The statement is direct. It is logged on site. Identity record pulled. Joseph Edward Duncan III. Age 42. Registered level 3 sex offender. Juvenile record shows first sexual offense at age 15. Minnesota charging documents from 2004 list molestation of a boy. Bail posted. Approximately $15,000 borrowed. Subject fled jurisdiction. Vehicle inventory follows arrest. Car reported stolen. Shotgun recovered. Video equipment seized. Tapes are cataloged. They show the 2 children during captivity. The girl is secured. The boy is not located. Interrogation attempt yields nothing. Duncan stops speaking. Silence persists. Attention shifts back to the child. She gives a full account. Sequence after sequence. 7 weeks compressed into hours of interview time. Investigators document detail retention beyond expected capacity for age. One officer pauses the recorder to get water. She describes her brother's death, the burning, the movement between camps, the threats, the games. She repeats names and locations the man described to her. 2 sisters. Seattle. Methods. Placement. Those details are cross-checked later. Confession arrives after evidence presentation. Duncan states he hunted. He used a vehicle-mounted navigation system to mark houses with children. He drove past the Groney residence, observed the children in the yard. Surveillance followed. Days. Patterns. Entry planning. Animal control note added from her statement. He fed the family dog treats in advance. Reduced resistance anticipated. Trial exhibits include Duncan's own recordings. Jurors are required to view them. Multiple court officers note distress reactions. The footage is admitted in full. Date entry, October 16, 2006. Plea entered. 3 counts kidnapping. 3 counts first-degree murder. Brenda Groney. Mark McKenzie. Slade Groney. Sentence, 3 consecutive life terms. Federal proceedings follow. 10 additional charges. Kidnapping. Sexual assault. Murder of Dylan. Sentence, death. Custody transferred to federal facility in Terre Haute, Indiana. Status update years later. Date, March 28, 2021. Cause brain cancer. Death occurs before execution. Community records resume. A birthday gathering held for Slade. Candles. Name spoken aloud. Later interviews with the survivor described safety mixed with vigilance. Ongoing treatment noted. Avoidance of recognition. Desire for anonymity recorded without elaboration. The file closes without a conclusion section. Post-sentencing records remain active. Court filings continue. Appeals. Motions. Dates that do not change outcomes. Mandatory counseling appointments logged alongside them. Self-report entries note deterioration. Low self-worth. Identity confusion. The language shifts here. Less precise. Substance use appears in juvenile records. Alcohol. Drugs. Not itemized. Early adolescence spent in a correctional facility. Intake forms show peer group histories with similar abuse patterns. Judicial remarks preserved in transcript. The judge addresses potential rather than punishment. Says she believes the girl is capable of more than what is being displayed. Life course changes later. Marriage record. Children born. Spousal connection noted in supplemental file. The husband is related to Sammy Jo White and Carmen Cubayas. Half-sisters from Seattle. Names previously provided by Duncan during captivity. This linkage is factual, not interpretive. Medical notes include earlier fears of infertility. Those concerns resolve with childbirth. No clinical explanation attached. Social network expands. Continued contact with a man named Nick Chapman, identified as a bystander at the restaurant. Law enforcement families invite her into their homes. Children present. Normal routines described without detail. Statements emphasize restoration of childhood experiences. Not analyzed. Forgiveness appears in later interviews. Not framed as closure. Framed as boundary. Control is mentioned as the thing being resisted. Current status entries list family time. Career interest, counseling. Motivation tied to survival rather than advocacy language. No conclusion is entered. New media file appended without transition. Video timestamp. August 12, 2000. Vallejo, California. A window. A child inside. Name tag, Mitzi Sanchez. Age 8. No further context follows. Story 7. March 20th, 2011. A short video appears online. The title is crude. Accusatory. It frames a woman mid-motion, mid-voice, cropped tight enough to suggest guilt without proof. The account that uploads it will later be linked to a life sentence. That fact comes much later. At the time, there are only comments. Thousands of them. The outrage arrives first, the facts lag behind. The woman in the frame is Christine Belford. The clip wants you to see neglect. It does not show what came before. It does not show what follows. The comments swell. Some of them read as verdicts. 2007. 3 children vanish. The removal is clean, almost polite. A promise is involved. A trip. A familiar destination invoked to lower resistance. Disney World. Florida. The date is August 26th. Christine allows the handoff to David Matasiewicz, her former husband. He has a plan already written somewhere else. 2 weeks pass. No return. No calls that settle anything. Then absence becomes measurable. The search does not stay local. It stretches outward, then sideways, then digital. 18 months. Multiple borders. The trail splinters into usernames, messages, filings, accusations that arrive faster than they can be sorted. Lenore Matasiewicz, Thomas Matasiewicz and Amy Matasiewicz appear not as witnesses but as operators. What forms is later named the most extensive cyberstalking case the state has handled. The first convictions in the country where cyberstalking is tied directly to death. That wording comes from court records. It does not explain how it felt to read it the first time. February 11, 2013. A courthouse in Wilmington fractures. Gunfire inside the building. 2 women are shot and killed. The shooter dies by his own hand. The initial bulletin is brief. Relationship implied. Motive deferred. Outside, a white sport utility vehicle sits where it was left. Inside the vehicle, a red notebook. Inside the notebook, names. Future names. One of them belongs to Timothy Hitchings, legal counsel for Christine. Security footage shows 2 men exiting the vehicle. One stays back. One crosses the street alone. His pace is even. At 12:10 in the afternoon, police tell the press the gunman is related to a victim. That statement is accurate in a narrow sense. It is also insufficient. I was called when the lobby was already quiet. Walking in, I recognized one of the deceased before I registered the blood. That recognition does something to your timeline. It rearranges assumptions. I thought I knew who the shooter would be. The case had trained me to expect a specific escalation. I was wrong. September 9, 2007. Around 9 in the evening. The call came in as distressed, not hysterical. A mother reporting her children taken. The caller was Christine Belford. She named David and Lenore as the people who left with the girls. At first, it sounded like custody friction. Those calls come with patterns. This one broke pattern when contact failed completely. Phones unanswered. No hotel records. No return date honored. The paperwork mattered. Allegations inside it. Claims of unfitness. A push for full custody documented in advance. That changed the weight of the call. Credit card activity was checked. The last transaction fell on August 26th. The same day they left. After that, nothing. It's worse when it's not a stranger. The missing persons report went out. It did not catch up to them. More than 2,000 miles south, the children, Laura, Lee, and Karen, sat in the back of a Winnebago. The front seats were occupied by David and Lenore. Interstate 2 bled into surface roads. An exit taken without hesitation. International Boulevard toward the border. Less than a mile remained under United States jurisdiction. At the customs booth, passports were handed over. The agent asked how many people were inside the vehicle. David answered evenly. No visible urgency. No tremor. That moment exists in testimony. It does not exist on video. Some details never circle back. Some arrive too late to matter. The early video stays online for years. The outrage never fully retracts. The notebook remains evidence. The children's absence becomes a fixed point that everything else bends around. I stopped assuming clarity would come if I waited. Neither does Lenore react. The border agent hears children in the back, voices overlapping, plastic toys scraping the floor. He checks the passports in sequence. No rush. No raised eyebrows. Then he hands them back and lifts the gate. That is the moment jurisdiction ends. What no one at the booth knows is that planning began the year before. December 2006. Arrangements made for false identification, adults and children included. Paperwork designed to survive brief inspection. By August 28th, David crosses south again. After that, there is nothing usable. With a 2-week head start, the geography stops narrowing. Search warrants turn up fragments. Links to a bank account in New Zealand. Canada mentioned without explanation. The Vision Center is gone, sold for roughly $650,000. A separate line of credit appears under Christine's name, just under $250,000. The signature is forged. The money is already moving. From Delaware, the map feels useless. Searches move online, then back to paper, then nowhere. Christine keeps showing up anyway. Meetings. Press. Paperwork. Sleep appears optional. November 2007. 2 months without contact. Thomas Matasiewicz and Amy Gonzalez deny knowing anything. Around the same time, both relocate to Edcouch, less than 20 miles from the border. The move is legal. The timing is not neutral. At that point, the assumption shifts. Family involvement stops being speculative. The case goes public in places it never reached before. International outlets repeat the same line. 3 girls taken by a Delaware optometrist. Archival footage circulates. The name sticks. A hit comes in. Cerro Azul, about an hour outside Panama City. A team mobilizes. By the time they arrive, the house is empty. Later, a passport record shows movement into Costa Rica. After that, silence. 16 months of cold ground. March 2009. 18 months gone. Karen should be turning 4. She was 2 when she disappeared. The distance between those numbers is not abstract to the family. Tips arrive in bursts. Locations named. Flights booked. Each time, the answer is the same. Not here. Not now. Then a phone call traced from Katerina. The origin is small enough to matter. An alert goes out for a 33-foot recreational vehicle with Delaware plates. Uncommon for the region. Hard to hide if you know what to look for. March 13, 2009. A routine stop. David is driving. Laura is with him. The officer asks for identification. David hands over a license. The officer does not look at it. He asks David to step out of the car. Arrest follows immediately. Laura is taken to the station. Less than an hour later, Lenore and the 2 youngest girls are located a few miles away, still in the vehicle. Belongings are missing. Sold off over time. The funds, nearly $1 million, are gone. Confirming 3 minors located. Christine boards the first available flight that night. The confirmation feels unreal, even while it's happening. Duration distorts belief. Reunion does not arrive cleanly. Laura, now 6, repeats what she was told. That her mother ended her life. That she chose not to stay. The statement lands without context, just permanence. It serves a purpose. David later pleads guilty. 1 count of international parental kidnapping. 1 count of bank fraud. The rest of the record stays uneven. Some damage never organizes itself into charges. The sentencing is brief on paper. 4 years in prison for David. 5 years of probation after. Lenore receives 18 months for child endangerment. The numbers appear to close something. They don't. Christine understands the clock differently. While they are confined, there is a window. Parental rights must be terminated before release. The urgency is procedural, not emotional. Miss it, and control re-enters the system. 19 months of disappearance ends. Another phase begins. December 22nd. A letter leaves a prison mailroom addressed to Amy's house. David writes that he is done playing nice. The line is plain. It is not explained. March 2009 returns the children to the front page. A photograph circulates, Christine standing with Laura and Karen. The image suggests resolution. It is inaccurate. When the girls come back, the physical condition is obvious. Weight loss. Untreated cavities. Karen's eyes inflamed, both of them. The details are noted quietly by doctors, then by family. For a short stretch, routine resumes. School schedules. Appointments. With David incarcerated, the pressure eases just enough to be mistaken for safety. Then a message arrives online. A woman named Cindy Bender reaches out through social media. She says she followed the case. Says she dated David years earlier. Says she understands. The tone is sympathetic. Familiar. The connection holds. Cindy becomes a place to talk. Christine shares small updates. Grades. Sports. Photos. Nothing that feels strategic. I remember voicing concern. Not formally. Just enough to be on record. Watch who you talk to. December 2009. Less than a month into David's sentence. A web page starts circulating. The title frames itself as maternal anguish. A grandmother's impossible choice. 29 paragraphs. Allegations escalate quickly. Sexual abuse. Incest. The claims are absolute. No evidence attached. The site is fiction. The damage is not. The question comes up immediately. Lenore is in custody. No internet access. The answer sits elsewhere. Another letter from prison to Amy's address outlines tasks. Distribution. Timing. Persistence. The story is meant to travel. Printouts are mailed anonymously. To neighbors. Friends. Schools. A church. Christine teaches Sunday school. First graders. She resigns without explanation to them. The risk feels too high. Control becomes the theme. Visibility the method. The strain accumulates in ways that don't photograph well. Christine hides it from the younger girls. Not completely from Katie. Fatigue surfaces in fragments. Short sentences. Missed sleep. The sense that nothing is actually over. She keeps moving. Paperwork. Court filings. One step, then another. September 16th, 2010. Lenore is released from prison. The date is circled in advance. Not for ceremony, For impact, a restraining order covers the entire Matasiewicz family. On paper, it is comprehensive. In practice, Christine still feels observed. She says she can't tell if it's intuition or erosion. The distinction stops mattering. March 20th, 2011. A friend forwards a link. The footage shows Christine outside her home. Someone films from inside a parked car, engine low, distance calculated. The children are with her. Nothing dramatic happens. Later, the clip is cut down, retitled, reposted. Don't hurt me, mommy. The framing does the work the images do not. Moments are isolated. A hand on an arm. A correction near the curb. Normal restraint, recast as threat. The comments fill in the accusation. The intent is not documentation. It is pressure. The effort is cumulative. Mental fatigue as a tactic. If hope collapses, custody follows. Christine thinks through the end states anyway. Foster care. David. Outcome she refuses to name aloud for long. There are days she considers stopping. The thought doesn't stay. She keeps going because the alternative has shape. December 2011. Lenore and Thomas drive more than 2,000 miles without notice. They arrive at Christine's house while she is away. The children are home. Fear arrives before explanation. Katie tries to contain it. They retreat to a bedroom. Gerald answers the door. He blocks the threshold. Words are exchanged. Lenore and Thomas leave. The house does not reset afterward. Security cameras go up. 3 German shepherds are added. Bats and knives appear near the bed. Sleep becomes segmented. The solution shifts again. Christine decides to sell the house. That decision leaks. An email arrives, casual in tone. Cindy writes as usual. Delays apologized for. Small talk. Christine replies with updates she's given before. School. Stability. The house listing. Showings. What Christine does not see is the parallel conversation. Cindy is messaging Amy. Repeating details. Passing along seasonal notes. Promising photographs. Joking about continuity. David living through others. The trust is intact on one side only. Cindy never disengaged from David. The relationship continued through screens and messages. From prison outward, information flows through Amy. Dates, plans, vulnerabilities. Once the house sale is mentioned, the focus sharpens. Photos are taken around the property. Entrances, windows, camera placement. The preparation is methodical. David's release is 4 months away. Christine senses escalation without evidence. She tells people she thinks they will kill her. The statement is recorded more than once. In a letter to her attorney, she writes that David has nothing left to lose. That survival might not be the goal. That she could live long enough to watch harm unfold. That she might disappear. The language is not dramatic. It is logistical. Preparation becomes instruction. Katie is trained quietly. If the family appears, Christine will stay downstairs. Delay. Create noise. Katie is to gather the girls, move them up, out the master bedroom window. A rope ladder is already there. No one practices it more than once. When the release date approaches, anxiety stops hiding. The house fills with contingency. The sense that something is already moving, whether they can see it or not. After the return, movement becomes restricted. Christine prefers the girls inside. If they leave, locations are logged. Names noted. Times fixed. It looks like overprotection. It isn't. April 13th, 2012. David is released from federal custody. 5 years of probation follow him out the door. He goes back to Edcouch, to family. Shortly after, he writes to Amy. He tells her to prepare to be managing 4 children by the next year. The line is sent without explanation. It does not read as hypothetical. That morning, Christine keeps routine intact. Breakfast. School bags. Shoes tied. Her expression stays neutral. The younger girls don't notice anything different. Katie does. There is court that day. A child support hearing. Administrative. Ordinary. David will be there. That detail is enough. Christine carries it without comment. Stress shows anyway. An offer is made for company. Time off work. Another adult presence. Christine declines. She plans to meet her friend Beth instead. At approximately 7:55 in the morning, Christine arrives at the New Castle County Courthouse. She parks. She walks toward the entrance. Beth is already there. Inside, the lobby is active. Security. Employees. People waiting for unrelated matters. The environment is controlled, predictable. Christine passes through the revolving door. She moves toward the metal detectors. Beth follows a step behind. Before recognition registers, a man raises a gun. The distance is close. The first shot lands center mass. News breaks unevenly. A post appears online about a courthouse shooting. A phone rings, then rings again. The call identifies a hospital. Names are confirmed. Information arrives fully formed. Christine is dead. Beth Mulford is also dead. 2 security officers are wounded in the exchange that follows. The shooter is hit while trying to exit the building. He then turns the weapon on himself. When I arrive, Christine is still on the lobby floor. I assume the shooter's identity before checking it. The case has trained that reflex. The body corrects me. It is not David. It is Thomas Matasiewicz. That answer creates a second problem immediately. Where is David? Securing him becomes priority. The shooting is not interpreted as an endpoint. It reads as a step. Police fan out toward schools. The 3 younger girls, Laura, Lee, and Karen, are located and placed into protective custody. Timing matters. State troopers reach them before anyone else does. David is found inside the courthouse shortly after the attack. He is arrested without resistance. He denies knowing what his father planned. When informed of Thomas's death, his reaction is minimal. Noted, not interpreted. Katie is moved separately. She reaches her sisters briefly. The setting is controlled. Temporary. She does not know it is the last time she will see them together. Lenore and Amy are brought in for questioning. Both deny knowledge. The denials are recorded alongside other material. A white sport utility vehicle sits in the courthouse parking area. It is processed. In Ed Couch, the family residence is searched. Thousands of items are collected. Documents, electronics, notes, fragments that do not resolve into one sequence. The intended target is dead. That fact does not close the case. It reclassifies it. Thomas is dead. David is in custody. Christine is gone. What remains is not silence. Within 48 hours of the shooting, February 13th, Amy Gonzalez files a petition seeking custody of the children. The courthouse she sends it to is still closed. Tape on the doors. The timing is not an error. 8 days later, Lenore Matasiewicz appears on a podcast. The format is conversational. The content is not. She defends her husband. She reframes the shooting. Then she returns to the allegation that has outlived Christine. Abuse. Repeated. Asserted again, now without opposition. August 18, 2013. Prosecutors go to the grand jury. The indictments come back quickly. Lenore and Amy are arrested without spectacle. The volume of material is already catalogued. It has been waiting. June 11, 2015. Trial begins. This is the first time cyberstalking resulting in murder is tried at this scale. Over 600 pieces of evidence are entered. Firearms, ammunition, emails, printouts, photographs of Christine's house with camera locations marked, notations and margins that do not read as emotional. Third parties surface in the records. Cindy Bender, Courtney Emerson. Information moved through them. Direction passed without fingerprints. Among the items is a printed serenity prayer. It is not highlighted. It does not need to be. The defendants remain controlled. Their posture does not change when evidence accumulates. Their position is consistent. Christine was abusive. They acted to protect the children. That claim is repeated until it becomes the spine of the defense. Katie takes the stand. She is 20. She has not seen her sisters in 2 years. The distance is procedural, not emotional. She speaks about fear without embellishment, about living with anticipation, about what she believes will happen if the family regains access. She tells the court they will not stop. The concern is not dismissed. The case reaches a limit the defense did not anticipate. The narrative they built depends on a child who cannot contradict it. That assumption fails. June 22nd. Laura testifies. She is 13. The courtroom is cleared. Her statement is sealed except for one sentence released to the press. None of it is true. No abuse. No secrecy. No justification. The assertion is simple. It does not expand. The effect is immediate. The structure collapses inward. The jury does not need interpretation. The lies do not survive contact with the one-person position to undo them. The defendants remain silent. Verdicts are returned. David Matasiewicz, Lenore Matasiewicz, Amy Gonzalez. Guilty. Life without parole. No conditional language. No future dates. The plan ends there. The record reflects a continuation of Christine's fight rather than its conclusion. Her children speak where she cannot. The outcome secures distance, not erasure. Nothing is restored. Control is removed. The file closes with no symmetry. Only containment. Story 8. I am compiling this after the fact, not from a clean timeline, but from fragments that refuse to line up. The first thing that surfaces isn't the crime. It's a dream someone kept having. A church. A wedding aisle. A veil lifted. No face underneath. That detail doesn't attach to anything yet. The record says it began with a fire. Then a death. Then 2 missing girls. Those categories arrived in that order, but not with equal weight. There was a structure on that road that morning. From the outside, flames had already finished their work. From a distance, someone noticed something higher up, on an upper floor. The shape wasn't ambiguous. A man's body. No effort was needed to identify it as such. Officially, there were no suspects. That statement held for days. Privately, the family rejected it. They named a suspect anyway. Not a person. An institution. The Craig County Sheriff's Department as a whole. Rumors accumulated faster than reports. Teenagers don't vanish quietly in small places. Stories folded in on themselves. Police protection, drug routes, cartel involvement. None of it confirmed. None of it fully dismissed. The Bible family did not wait. They did not ask permission. They began searching on their own. Names were spoken aloud to people who did not want to hear them. He asked me if I was scared to talk to him. I said no. The speaker identified herself only as a mother. That was the credential offered. Nothing else. Before any of this, there were 2 houses a mile apart. The Freemans lived near the Bibles. Their daughters met in kindergarten. That fact keeps reappearing in statements, as if longevity alone might explain what followed. Ashley Freeman. Laura Bible. The names were interchangeable in early accounts. Same classrooms. Same routines. By high school, they moved as a pair. Laura stood on the sidelines at basketball games. Cheer uniform. Ashley on the court. Witnesses described them as synchronized. Finishing sentences for each other. That phrase shows up repeatedly, unchanged. December 29th. Just after Christmas. Ashley turned 16. She asked Laura to come over. Laura's father hesitated long enough for it to be noted, then agreed. There was a condition. Home by noon. She said, "I love you, Daddy," and left. No one flagged that sentence at the time. The night itself produced no irregularities. Pizza, ice cream, movies, normal teenage debris. At 6 in the morning, a neighbor called it in. The house across the street was fully involved. Fire everywhere. Address requested. Address given. 2 hours later, procedure shifted locations. A deputy entered Laura's mother's workplace. No warning. One question first. Did she know Ashley Freeman? The answer came easily. Then the house was described as gone. Not damaged. Gone. At the scene, the sheriff spoke plainly. The girls were missing. No estimate. No theory offered. Laureen Bible assisted the medical examiner. This is documented. Identification was incomplete. A ring on the left hand. For children. That was enough. The question that followed didn't change. Where were Danny Freeman? Where were the girls? While this exchange took place, Jay Bible was not present. He was riding the perimeter on horseback. He found spent shotgun shells near the property line. That detail altered the classification. Fire alone no longer explained the site. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation was contacted. Their arrival was treated as closure by some. They collected what they collected. They spoke in certainties. By the end of the day, the lead investigator told the families there was nothing else there. At 5 o'clock, the scene was released. The ground was still warm. I am handling what remained after the initial assurances failed. Jay and Laureen returned home sometime after midnight. Between 12:30 and 1. Laura's room was across the hall. Empty in a way that didn't belong to the hour. No signs of departure. No note. Just absence where routine should have been. Thoughts arrived without order. Cold first. Then hunger. Then clothing. The questions repeated themselves until they lost meaning. Eating felt inappropriate. Sleep didn't occur. By morning they went back. The site was no longer sealed. Smoke still clung to parts of the structure. Heat lingered in places no one had stepped yet. Laureen moved through what was left. Not methodically. Just looking. Something caught her attention above ground level. On an upper floor that barely existed anymore. It was immediate. Not debatable. A body. Male. The face was gone. She called emergency services herself. Identified herself. Stated her location. Stated there was another body still inside the fired debris. That body had not been documented. Not by specialists. Not by investigators already present hours earlier. Before Agent Steve Nutter and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation returned, more items surfaced. Not cataloged. Recovered by family. Laura's purse. Her wallet. A vehicle insurance card. The name on it belonged to someone no one recognized. When these were turned over, they were dismissed. Nutter questioned relevance. Dismissed connection. Walked away without taking them. The house continued to be dismantled by those who had lost people in it. Dwayne Vansell followed Nutter instead. He had identified the newly discovered body. Danny Freeman. Confirmed by a metal plate in the skull. This disrupted the working theory. Nutter had been certain Danny killed Kathy and took the girls. That certainty weakened. Dwayne introduced something older. A conversation from the week before the fire. If anything happened, Danny had said, look at the sheriff's department. He told me straight, if I get killed, you look at them. A year earlier, a deputy had killed Danny's son Shane during an altercation. Since then, hostility had not settled. It had grown. Nutter resisted the implication. Still, he agreed to pursue it. Lie detector examinations were conducted. Deputies participated. Results were recorded as passed. No involvement indicated. That determination shifted the direction of the case. With Danny confirmed dead and law enforcement removed from suspicion, attention moved somewhere else. Unexpectedly, the girls. The language changed the next day. Not victims. Not missing. Potential perpetrators. No Amber Alert was issued. Their status prevented it. Nutter told the Bibles the girls were entered into the National Missing Persons System. Lorene did not accept the statement. She went to the station herself. Asked someone she knew to check. The names weren't there. Despite local consensus that neither girl caused the fire, the theory remained. Officially, no organized search followed. The family proceeded alone. Posters were printed independently. Large enough for trucks. Placed wherever permission wasn't required. They drove continuously. Distances accumulated without tracking. Windows. Storefronts. Rest stops. We were the only ones looking. A year passed without confirmation of anything. Then another December approached. Laura had managed Christmas in the house. Tree first. Decorations precise. The tree stayed up. After the holiday. After the year turned. It was left standing until she returned. That was the reasoning. Not a decision. An assumption. Over time, hope eroded around them. Not evenly. Not all at once. Lorene did not let go of the possibility that both girls were alive. Somewhere unrecorded. Unfound. I am reviewing this phase after momentum replaced structure. When a child disappears completely, people ask about endurance. The answer given was not strength. It was refusal. Refusal to occupy a role without information. Around that period, Danny Freeman's name resurfaced again, altered. No longer as a victim, as a liability. There were rumors that he had been gathering money, that he intended to sue the sheriff and the deputy connected to his son's death, that the money wasn't coming fast enough. Accounts claimed he began selling drugs, growing marijuana, only for a short time, only months before the fire. Another version followed closely behind it, that he owed money, that the debt was not forgiven, that someone came to collect. Nutter and the OSBI did not pursue this angle with urgency. They found the logic inconsistent. In their view, abducting children complicated crimes meant to be transactional. Lorene did not wait for alignment. She located someone with access above the local level. Not a dealer. Not a user. Someone who could reach decision-makers directly. The direction pointed south. Miami. Cartel territory. She understood what that meant. She went anyway. Her family objected. Jay objected. His mother objected louder. Risk was explained to her plainly. She dismissed it. If they're shooting at me, I must be close. The meeting location was an alley. Dark. Unremarkable. She waited in her truck for hours. When the man arrived, he did not approach first. Neither did she. They spoke cautiously. About weapons. About fear. She asked directly whether the girls had been taken. Whether Danny had been killed over money. The response was brief, categorical. No women, no children. She accepted it without hesitation. No corroboration followed. After that, there was no clear direction. Only repetition. Tips continued. Not official ones. Informal. Untraceable. 12 separate informants claimed the girls were alive. Held somewhere. Conditions described but not fixed. There were references to photographs. Bound. Restrained. Those details were not pursued aloud. They were avoided. Focusing on them stopped movement. Then the photographs entered public discussion. Polaroids allegedly circulating. Calls multiplied immediately. Sightings contradicted each other by hours. By states. Law enforcement documented frustration. But the volume did not decrease. Jay and Lorene followed each lead. 6 states. Mileage no longer tracked precisely. The vehicle absorbed the count. This continued into the early years that followed. The family driving. The OSBI sorting reports. Then a new voice entered the file. From prison. Not related to the case originally. A man on death row in Texas. Known for movement. Known for confession. He claimed responsibility. For Danny. For Kathy. For the girls. He provided details. Some accurate. Some unverifiable. He offered locations. Bodies. Resolution. After years without progress, the offer was taken seriously. A search followed. 1 bone was recovered. Examined. Animal. That was enough. The family was told the confession was false. A performance. An attempt at relevance. Before his removal from the case, Nutter redirected once more. Another incarcerated killer. Another possibility. This one from Oklahoma. Jeremy Jones. Privately, doubt never left. Too many people would have been required. Too much coordination. The theory did not hold long. Nothing replaced it. I am looking at what happened after nothing happened. Lorene was correct about Jeremy Jones. That confession collapsed the same way the others did. After that, Agent Nutter stepped away, and the case stopped producing sound. There were no new calls. No new rumors with shape. Just silence stretching again. After Jones, you wait. Then it gets quiet. December 2009 arrived without ceremony. The Christmas tree was still standing. It had never been taken down. Over the years, it accumulated weight. Cards. Charms. Notes sent by strangers who did not know where to send hope. After 8 or 9 years, the branches failed. The tree tipped. It broke. Lorene did not replace it. Laura had always done that part. Acceptance did not arrive cleanly. It came in fragments. Sometimes unexpectedly. 7 years passed. In Craig County, a new sheriff took office. During routine reorganization, old evidence crates were moved. 1 box had no markings. Inside were documents from late 1999. Notes that should not have been isolated. Records that had not been logged. The discovery was disclosed publicly by Heath Winfrey. The implication was simple. Something had been set aside and forgotten. The case was reopened. Not ceremonially. Administratively. Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation assigned a new agent, Tammy Ferrari, to review the contents. 1 item stood out almost immediately. An insurance card. Mentioned early. Never followed. The card had been found by the families in the ruins years earlier. It disappeared while moving between offices. Now it resurfaced. Tracking its owner resolved a lingering dispute. The Polaroids were not a myth. The owner had seen them. She was also the former girlfriend of David Pennington. 3 men were identified as distributors of the photographs. 1 was already dead. Phil Welch. Another was Pennington himself. Also deceased. The 3rd was alive. Ronnie Busick. Accounts of him were consistent. Fear preceded facts. People avoided naming him. He was associated with a local drug ring. Not cartel-related. Violent enough to discourage witnesses. Ferrari had a problem. 12 people were rumored to have seen the images. None would speak formally. 1 witness was not enough for a warrant. Lorene intervened again. Publicly this time. A social media page appeared. Television followed. Laura's cousin, Lisa Broderick, joined her. The exposure shifted something. All 12 witnesses came forward. Most were former partners or relatives of the 3 men. When Busick's Kansas sentence ended, Ferrari was waiting. An Oklahoma warrant was executed immediately. During interviews, Busick talked carefully. He admitted presence. He denied responsibility. He attributed the violence to Welch and Pennington. Claimed they went to collect a drug debt. Said Danny resisted. Said everything unraveled. Busick offered something instead of confession. A location. A deal followed. Murder, kidnapping, and arson charges would be removed. Accessory to murder would remain. If the girls were found, the family agreed. An abandoned mine was searched. Nothing was recovered. Busick claimed the girls had been moved later. The court accepted the explanation. The plea remained intact. Busick was sentenced to 10 years in prison. 5 years probation. He served 38 months. Released early for good behavior on May 19, 2023. At the hearing, Loreen addressed the court. Busick avoided eye contact. The family still holds to the possibility of answers. Not resolution. Answers. Loreen did not stop. With her representative, she proposed legislation. Laura and Ashley's Law. The measure requires those convicted as accessories to murder to serve at least 85% of their sentence before parole eligibility. It passed on June 6, 2023. The case did not close. The rules around it changed. I am reviewing what remained after the case stopped moving forward. The years of anger did not resolve into answers. They thinned instead. What stayed was direction. Loreen shifted her attention away from outcomes she could not reach. She redirected it toward continuity, not remembrance as spectacle, continuation as function. A scholarship was established in the girls' names. Local. Specific. Intended to move quietly from one student to the next. Education instead of explanation. She spoke about how she wanted them held in memory, not as victims first, as people with unfinished plans. They had dreams, just like anyone's sister, anyone's daughter. Time moved forward regardless. Grandchildren arrived. 3. They noticed the absence before understanding it. They noticed the missing ritual. There was no tree. One of them offered a solution without asking for permission. She said she would help put it up. She said she wanted to hang her Aunt Laura's ornament herself. She said she would do it. No further instruction followed. That brings us to the end of tonight's stories. For a little while they were here with us, and now we can leave them there. Take a breath and let the night become quiet again. You don't need to think about everything at once. Just rest and let the hours pass. Good night. I'll see you in the next one.